Spring Television. Ours it is.
Hi, good morning and welcome to another episode of Sports Spring on Western Spring Television. My name is Joseph Atewa saying good morning. There's a lot to talk about on the show this morning. From the UEFA Champions League, we have a semi-final appearance already. Two Italian clubs in the semi-final since 2005. We'll also be looking at Manchester City. Can he get a shot at the title as they lock horns with Real Madrid over two legs? Welcome once again. It is Sports Spring on Western Spring Television.
And Nigeria's head coach of the Tigers definitely has been named the 2023 NBA Coach of the Year. That's Mike Brown. Well deserved, if you ask me. And in the Nigerian Women Football League, FC Robo Queens have qualified for the Super 6 competition. Meanwhile, the game between Abia Angels and Edo Queens that was abandoned yesterday due to a heavy downpour is currently agog. And Edo Queens are leading currently 1-0 against their opponent, Abia Angels. Now, we'll give you and we'll bring you up to speed with the scoreline as the show advances. Thanks for joining us this morning. I am Nengi Enes Ademola.
All right, so start from the local scene and we start from the league where the NWFL roundup end of season. We know that some teams have relegated, like Oshu Babes and Ibom Angels, if I'm correct, out of the game. They have been relegated, and we have 6 teams that will compete at the Super 6. And do not forget, the winner will represent us on the continent. Talking about the Champions League, that's the CAF Champions League. And of course, as you can see on your screens, Nassau Amazons defeating Adamawa Queens 5-0. But then the biggest of them all will be Oshun Babes and Ibom Angels out of the league.
Exactly. And just like Joseph has rightly stated, what you're seeing on your screen is the last match day fixtures, results rather, that marked the end of the regular season for the Nigerian Women Football League. And let's move on and start from Group A, where we have Bayelsa Queens defeating Niger Rattles 3-0. Delta Queens also went against Rivers Angels. That one ended in a 1-1 draw. Heartland Queens went against Royal Queens FC 1-0. It ended in favor of Heartland Queens. While Nasra Amazons hosted Adamawa Queens, and that one ended 5-0 in favor of Nasra Amazons. Quite an impressive scoreline right there. Abia Angels FC went against Edo Queens. Like I said yesterday, that game was abandoned due to a heavy downpour, and currently we have that game ongoing at the Umuahia Township Stadium, where Edo Queens currently is leading 1-0. I think it's a quite nice one coming from Edo Queens. Definitely they've also qualified for the Super 6, and we're hoping to see something better in terms of display. Now, FC Robo Queens got a 4-0 victory against Confluence Queens. Now, yesterday I did talk about the fact that the fight between the battle for the Super 6, that's for the very last spot, the qualification for the very last spot, has to be between FC Robo Queens and Nasra Amazon. And of course, FC Robo Queens stamping authority in that game against Confluence Queens. Although Confluence Queens have also qualified for the Super 6, and it's a nice one coming from FC Robo Queens because they were able to do the needful and also qualify. So definitely the 6 teams are complete. We have Bayelsa Queens, Delta Queens, Rivers Angels, FC Robo Queens, Confluence Queens, definitely Edo Queens in the Super 6. We hope for the best for all of these teams. Now let's move over and talk about how the table stands, even as the end of the regular season was marked with last match day yesterday. Now you look at that on your screen being displayed right now. Those are the table for both Group A and Group B. Now for the teams in Group A, you have Delta Queens FC leading with 20 points right there. Quite an impressive one for them leading that Group A because we have very strong hands in Group A. And it's followed by Bayelsa Queens FC. Of course, if you talk about the Nigerian Premier Football League, you see that Bayelsa United are not doing pretty well, but they're just trying their best to maintain the standard they're that they have gotten because they just made their debut in the NPFL. But talk about the ladies, I tell you for sure they are doing it well. They've qualified for the Super 6. Let's not also forget that they are defending champions, and they also got the 3rd position in their debut for the CAF Women's Champions League, and we're hoping to see more impressive ones. A 3rd on that particular table is Rivers Angels FC with 20 points. In Group B, you have FC Robo Queens. Due to their very massive victory yesterday against Confluence Queen, they came up to the table, 22 points. Edo Queens currently in the match between them and their opponents, Abia Angels. Let's see how they can be able to also occupy this particular table. And then Confluence Queens FC, of course, on the 3rd position on the table with 21 points. And just like Joseph has rightly stated, Oshun Babes in Group A have been relegated, as well as Ibom Angels FC in Group B has also been relegated.
Just as we say all the time, winning home matches matters a lot in the Nigeria Professional Football League, or the NWFL. And as you can see on your log, the reason why Oshun Babes went down the drain will be the last game they played, where they lost at home and 1-0. If they had won, they would have remained in the league, as they lost out with just 2 points. Now from the girls, let's move to the boys, where with 4 games to the end of the regular season in the 2022-2023 Abridged Nigeria Professional Football League, the worst fears of clubs before the start of the season are fast becoming realities. Before the season eventually kicked off last January, 16 clubs are kicked against the Abridged League format, citing what they call easy roads to relegation and Continental as the major reasons before the scores were settled for what has turned out to be a smooth running so far. However, the scores are not even in terms of ambition, as the tables have turned in favor of the least, I should say, expected teams, while some of the favorites are struggling to keep their season going. The fear of relegation is the most heightened, and from the bottom of the table in both groups, it will take a miracle to save the likes of El Kanami Warriors, Nasarawa United, Dakada and Wiki Tories from going down, while the likes of Kwara United, Bayelsa United and Enugu Rangers still have some work to do to ensure safety. In Group A, El Kanami look condemned at the bottom with just 9 points from 14 matches. The club's technical crew was sacked midway through the season after a poor run of form, which saw them win only 1 game in the 4th stanza. Former Plateau United coach Hamza Abara then took over, but the fate of the club remains the same despite the Gaffer's rescue mission. The numbers are stacked against them, and the fixtures ahead against high-flying Bendel Insurance in Benin, Eyimba in Maiduguri, Aqua United in Uyo, Plateau United at home do not look promising for them. So with these fixtures, they might be going down the drain as well. Exactly.
And just to add to that, in Group B, there are also 2 teams most likely to go down. Now, while 2 other teams above them only have to be cautious to avoid being dragged into the murky waters of relegation, Wiki Tourists, who are bottom of the table, would be biting their fingers hard after a 3-point deduction left them with just 9 in the kitty. Now, the initial 12 points would have still placed them in the relegation zone, but their hopes of survival would have been brighter if they were 3 and 2 points below Bayelsa United and Enugu Rangers, who occupy the 7th and 8th position. Of course, Joseph, like you rightly stated, I think 4 more matches to the end of the Abridged League. That's for the 2022-2023 season in the Nigerian Premier Football League, and it has come with ups and downs, most especially for some of those clubs who just came newly into the Nigerian Premier Football League. You talk about Bayelsa United, you talk about El Kanemi, you also talk about Doma United. Of course, Doma United trying to stamp the authority in a Group B, if I'm not mistaken, where they belong to. But for all of the 4 teams that qualified, that are stepped up into the NPFL, I tell you for sure, it's only Bendel Insurance that are actually leading. I think they're in Group A, they're actually leading that particular log. And it's a pretty nice one because they've gone, I think, 13 or 14 games unbeaten, although most of the very few games they've played has always come as a draw, but definitely they're still unbeaten. And the likes of Lobby Stars Rivers United are looking forward to beat that gap and to close up on them. But prior to that, I think we also saw what's this now? A match ultimatum being issued to the likes of Wiki Tourists, the likes of Doma United, of course, El Kanemi Warriors. Doma United took it up as a challenge, and they were able to step forward in the NPFL so far. So let's see how things pans out to be, even as the Abridged League is coming to a close. Let's see if the likes of Wiki Tourists, the likes of Nasarawa United, Enugu Rangers, the likes of Bayelsa United can be able to survive the waters of relegation.
And still sticking with the Nigeria Premier Football League, this says that the Nigerian Football Federation has retreated that the interim management committee of the Nigerian Premier Football League, as the NPFL, headed by Gbenga Elegbeleye, will be allowed to remain in office and conclude its mandate before any decision can be taken on the board for the NPFL. Let me once more commend the IMC for the great job it is doing to reposition the elite division of a domestic league. We are enamored by the way and manner the board has gone about its mandate, and everyone can see the transparency, probity, and seriousness the members have attached to the task. It can be recalled that on the 21st of October 2022, the IMC was inaugurated by the NFF president with an initial mandate of 3 months, and a number of terms of reference are aimed to engaging a new life generally for Nigeria's elite division. In January this year, the mandate was extended to the end of the current NPFL season, which is the 31st of May 2023.
Joseph, I think at this point in time, you quite agree with me that since the interim management committee, that's the IMC, took over, definitely putting up an abridged league version for the Nigerian Premier Football League. I tell you, yes, of course, we've had the ups and downs. Yes, of course, there's been some violent cases here and there, some unruly behaviors from fans here and there in the Nigerian Premier Football League. But I tell you for sure that it doesn't just pass by, just like what we saw last season with the League Management Committee, whereby you just have a very soft disciplinary action being taken against some of this club. It's a different game. It's a different ball game altogether in this abridged season. And of course, you must give them kudos for wanting to take the league forward, for wanting to make sure that there is a bit of progress in the league. And definitely, let's see how things pans out to be, because the way it is now, even if the NFF is talking about putting up more, I think, committee or so, and putting things properly in place, I think some of the people that have formed the interim management committee definitely will still be in the board of directors.
And hopefully they are in check how to do their job, as they've always done. And they've been really impressive since inaugurated last October. Now let's move to Lagos, where one of the floodlight poles at the National Stadium in Surulere, Lagos, collapsed on Wednesday after a downpour witnessed in the metropolis. A witness confirmed to reporters that no injuries nor casualties were recorded, as there were no vehicle nor human traffic at the time of the incident. Kayode Ogunbemi, a frequent caller on the sports radio and, of course, at the City National Stadium, first said the heavy rain ensured virtually no one was beside the collapsed pole. The rain was a blessing, sincerely, because the people at the stadium were actually far from the pole because they've taken cover elsewhere. Thankfully, no car was parked near there at the time, also is stated. Now, Wednesday's incident is coming barely 2 weeks after the Minister of Youth and Sports, Sunday Dare, was on an inspection visit to the National Stadium to assess the level of the work at the edifice and also make some clarifications.
I tell you for sure that I think the rain came as a blessing in disguise, actually, because what if it just came collapsing down? And what if you had athletes who do go there for their daily routine? What if they were there and this thing had collapsed? It would have been a different case altogether. But let's hope that this will be fixed as soon as possible. And I think this should serve as a lesson to want to make the NFF stand up on the responsibilities of taking on infrastructure as a very serious business, most especially when it comes to sports. And thank God no life was lost, actually, in that yesterday's incident. And we do hope that this has gotten to the ears of the ministry, the Minister of Youth and Sports in person of Sunday Dare, so that swift action can be taken to be able to replace this and make sure that everything is working fine.
Well, it only shows how we think in this country. And, you know, this is 2023, and many countries, and nowhere Nigeria, have seen sport as a business. You see, reasons why things like this ugly picture you're seeing on your screen would happen is that, you know, when we say government hands off football, many think is a joke. Or if these were owned by private company, they would take care of it. Millions of nairas, if not billion, was used in building this stadium. And one thing we've always lacked as a people, as a nation, is bad maintenance culture. I mean, you were saying, thank God nobody was there, thank God nobody was that. There is somebody in charge of taking care of every of the equipment in that stadium. Until heads start to roll, things like this will happen, because it will happen again. And God forbid, 1 or 2 persons die in the incident, and all you hear is a statement
exactly,
from the ministry saying our sincere apologies are blah, blah, blah to the families and friends, meaning you not forgetting that you've taken out a soul, a breadwinner of a family. So proper maintenance culture is something we'll be crying about. Look at the Abuja National Stadium. If not for the intervention of Aliko Dangote, I mean, it would have been the way it was. More than 100 or 300 million, if I'm correct, was used renovating that stadium. But then go back and check right now. You saw what the Super Eagles played against Guinea-Bissau on that pitch. Yes, the pitch affected them, which was also confirmed by the coach and the players to a large extent. So proper maintenance culture we need to put in place. But it is sad that in 2023, we're still talking about proper maintenance culture. Honestly, it's a shame.
And just to add to that, the stadium built in 1972 was one of Africa's iconic sporting arenas at the time and hosted top international sporting events like the African Games in 1973, the 1980 and 2000 African Cup of Nations finals, and the Under-20 World Cup that was in 1999. And however, the stadium has been left to rot for close to 2 decades, with successive administrations only paying lip services to its renovation. I think I quite share in this thought at this particular point in time, Joseph. You see administrations coming time in, time out, and all we see is papers. All we see is all we hear is people coming out to condemn things such as this, but nothing. There is no evidence. We do not see anything being put in place to be able to make sure that these things do not happen.
Well, I understand it is easy. See, you look at clubs like Manchester United, Old Trafford, Arsenal, Emirates. You can go on and go Liverpool, Anfield. It doesn't mean that if the national team wants to play, they cannot use any of this stadium. They can. All they need to do is let a private club own this stadium. Do you understand? Let them be taking care of these stadiums. Even the stadiums across the country. Go back in the next 10 years and you will see improvements. If the national team wants to play, yes, you can use any stadium. It's the national team. Do you understand? They can play anywhere and you have a good game. But funny enough, you still have some people selfish because of selfish interests who are getting 1 or 2 things illegally from the government, trying to convince the government not to hand these stadiums and many of these clubs to private investors to move things forward in Nigeria. Because of their selfish interests, you have things like this. I won't be surprised that one day, God forbid, as we say, that there'll be a stampede in one of these stadiums because the contractors has done what it's not supposed to do. Remember what happened at the newly constructed or refurbished Lekon Salami Stadium in Ibadan, where at a point after the contractor had collected billions of naira, it was match day and rain was falling, it was leaking. The roof that had just been done by a contractor and the governor was present there. They had to cancel the match and push the match to another day. It's a disgrace. So let private owners come. Look at even your TV stations and radio stations in the country. Privately owned radio stations and TV stations function better than what is owned by the government. You can't really blame the government to a large extent because the revenue that is generated to them, they will share in health, in transportation. And so before they even think about sports, they have to take care of lives, which is health and school, which will be their main priority. So the best way is hands off these things, give it to private owners and see how we flourish.
Let's hope and feel that at the end of the day, things like this would not come up because just like Joseph would rightly and always say that this is 2023. I mean, we're supposed to have moved past all of these, most especially in terms of infrastructure. But let's see what can be done for the improvement and development of our football. And aside that, in terms of infrastructure also. And let's move away from that one and talk about the CAF Confederation Cup. Remember that we have our sole representative in Rivers United, who are doing pretty well for us. Remember also that no one saw it coming that we would go as far as the quarterfinals in this one. But concerning that particular match between Rivers United and, of course, their opponents, the Young Africans of Tanzania, the Confederation of African Cup for football, that's CAF, has announced the match officials that will take charge of the first leg quarterfinal between Rivers United and Young African. The Tanzania club topped their group to reach the quarterfinal, while Nigeria's champions finished in the second spot of Group A. Now, according to the update from CAF, Tom Abongile will be the center referee for the mouth-watering clash in Nigeria, and the first assistant referee will be Ivanildo Sanchez from Angola, second assistant referee Albelmiro Negro from Sao Tome, and the reserved referee would be Lois from Benin, and the VAR will be named by Hamza El Farik and will be assisted by Adil Zurak, both from Morocco. We do look forward to that particular clash here in Nigeria. Now, aside from that, Joseph will also hear that Young Africans had to depart for Nigeria today.
Well, ahead of the first leg of the CAF Confederations Cup, the quarterfinal against Nigeria's Rivers United, the Young Africans of Tanzania will depart Dar es Salaam on a Thursday. The Tanzanian side with the quarterfinal of the Confederations Cup after the finish top of the group following their one-away win over TP Mazembe in the final group game. They were drawn against Rivers United, with the first leg slated to hold in Nigeria this weekend. According to the update from the team's camp, they will leave the country's capital Dar es Salaam via Ethiopia Airline en route to Nigeria. Meanwhile, the tickets for the second leg are now on sale in Tanzania, as the game is slated for Benjamin Mkapa Stadium on the 30th of April 2023.
And let's wrap up with the Under-17 World Cup. After stripping Peru of the hosting rights of the Under-17 World Cup, the World Soccer ruling body is set to name Morocco as host. Peru was stripped of the right last week after it failed to meet the standard requirement in terms of facilities and infrastructures. Among the countries that have shown interest in staging the tournament, some executive committee members of FIFA seem to have a preference to the North African country, and FIFA has made it clear that the new host will be announced very soon, and Morocco will be the first country to qualify if they get the hosting right. This year's competition, remember, is slated for the month of November 10th to December 2nd, 2023.
All right, that's it on the local scene. We're going to break here. When we come back, we'll give you more stories making headlines in the world of sport. We have a finals. Talk about the semi-final pairing for the biggest money speeding, and as I said, the most lucrative football competition in the world. That's the UEFA Champions League. It is Inter Milan versus AC Milan, while Real Madrid will be up against Manchester City. More to come on the show. We'll be back.